A new level has been reached in the discourse about Donald Trump from those who have already thrown their support behind him and are now seeking to minimize the damage to their careers, to those from the steady opposition who have dropped the verbal gloves and term him nothing more than completely racist. And if there's one thing his supporters are thankful of, it's that Hillary Clinton hasn't gained from his mistakes. At least not yet. Speaking of the likely Democratic nominee, the president now openly stating he will do whatever it takes to endorse Hillary and see that she follows in his footsteps. Either a brilliant tactical move or another gaffe from a POTUS who doesn't understand how disliked he and his policies really are. This still leaves a gaping hole for those who have yet to make up their mind in the presidential election, a void being felt by one growing minority group, wielding the kind of clout Trump and Clinton should both fear. And join me for a special tribute to the greatest and the greatest generation who have something in common when it comes to fighting the hate that seems to be consuming America. Let's get back to work. Fear no evil. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Monday, June 6th, 2016.
He's a member of a club or society very strongly pro-Mexican, which is all fine. But I say he's got bias. I want to build a wall.
What Trump is doing is trying to divert attention from the very serious fraud charges against Trump University.
This is one of the worst mistakes Trump has made, and I think it's inexcusable. This judge was born in Indiana. He is an American, period.
But as far as Newt is concerned, I saw Newt. I was surprised at Newt. I thought it was inappropriate what he said.
I don't condone the comments, and we can press on to another topic.
If it were a Muslim judge, would you also feel like they wouldn't be able to treat you fairly because of that policy of yours?
It's possible, yes. Yeah, that would be possible, absolutely.
The comments of Donald Trump related to a sitting federal judge have sparked a firestorm, the likes of which we haven't seen yet this presidential election cycle. And in light of what has occurred since the day Donald Trump put the words Mexicans and rapists into the same sentence, that is saying something special indeed. It has reached the point where Texas Democratic Representative Shillman Vela, in an open letter to Trump published today, said of the presumptive Republican nominee that, quote, "Your recent bigoted attack on an American jurist is just plain despicable." Also taking the anger to a new level, stating, quote, "Mr. Trump, you're a racist, and you can take your border wall and shove it, unquote, into a part of the human anatomy." Words we use to replace the explicit verbiage used by the congressman. So we're once again forced to ask a question that has been posed hundreds of times, yet has to this time prompt some sort of an immediate response. Has Donald Trump finally gone too far? And is the Republican Party facing a level of damage control that will be impossible to rein in come November? Your phone calls and comments, always a part of the Newsmax programming. We invite you to get online right now. 1-877-NEWSMAX. 1-877-639-7629. Be prepared to be called upon at any moment. For this moment, let's welcome back the former chair at the House Intelligence Committee, Shillman Senior Fellow at the Investigative Project on Terrorism, author of Architects of Disaster, Congressman Pete Hoekstra. Pete, it's always a pleasure to see you and get a chance to talk to you. So let's dive right in. Donald Trump says of District Court Judge Gonzalo Curiel that he has treated him, Trump, in a hostile manner because he's a member of a club or society which is very strongly pro-Mexican, which has already, by the way, been proven to be untrue. On Morning Joe on MSNBC, they rip into Donald Trump. They call him completely racist. Meantime, John Kasich says in a tweet that it's time for Donald Trump to apologize to the judge in question here, basically stating that attacking judges based on their race and or religion is another tactic that divides our country. More importantly, it is flat out wrong. Donald Trump should apologize to Judge Curiel and try to unite this country. Hashtag two paths. All right, Pete, we got a lot to set it up here, but it needs to go right from there. Is Donald Trump a racist by this statement? Was he right in making the statement in one way, shape, form, or another? And what about the damage control? Pete, go for it.
No, I don't think Donald Trump was accurate in his description of this judge. Well, I don't know this judge personally. I think taking it to this level is the wrong direction to go, especially at this point in the campaign. But more importantly, I think, as many of these other folks have pointed out, this is not about the campaign. This is about Donald Trump's general view towards other groups. I think he's probably crossed the line. I would agree with Newt Gingrich, a friend of mine, who says this is a mistake. This is not the direction that Donald Trump needs to go at this point in time. This is something I wish he had not done.
But before we bring in my next guest, let me ask you then, based on your comments, then if this is not where he needed to go at this point, if he knows as well as every other Republican knows at this time that you need to curry the favor of the Latin American population in America, why would he go there? I know you can't get into his mind, Pete, but there's got to be some thinking as to why he would even bother to go to this point when he is so far ahead.
That's exactly right. I have no idea why he would go here. There's no need to go there. It is exactly the wrong place to go. He's got an agenda for, a country governed by ruled by law, that will appeal to Hispanics, will appeal to Muslims, will appeal to Americans. That's the kind of country we are. Speak about the values that bring us together. Don't go off on one of these tangents.
All right, so let's then get to our next guest here. Opinions editor from MOSH.us, nationally syndicated columnist, author of A Darker Shade of Crimson, Ruben Navarrette. Ruben, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I have to ask you flat out then, people are saying here that Donald Trump has every right to go after the judge. Everybody that we have heard from this point says absolutely it is the wrong thing to do, and he has further insulted the Latin American population by calling a guy who was born in America of Mexican parents, calling him a Mexican, as many others have as well. You go.
Yeah, all that's true, Ed. He's also, let me answer the question you posed to your last guest. I have no trouble saying that Donald Trump is a racist. Donald Trump has said something racist here. He has said something, as Newt Gingrich pointed out, if liberals had said that Clarence Thomas couldn't hear a case because he was black, we'd call it racism. This is racism. Racism defined as either I hate you, I fear you, or I look down on you. And this is really that last one. He looks down on Judge Curiel. He doesn't think that Judge Curiel has the equipment, the capability of being able to decide a case fairly. Ergo, he's a racist.
So then let me talk about your latest article in the Daily Beast, entitled Donald Trump Will Win Back Latinos. Really, it continues to be read and read that he has left plenty of breadcrumbs to walk himself back to a better, saner place. All right, Ruben, so what is that trail that leads Latinos to Donald Trump after this?
Well, Latinos are a very complicated group. 56 million of us, of all different ethnic backgrounds, lots of different countries represented in that mix. Donald Trump will probably get between 20 and 23% of the Hispanic vote, even with this outburst. There are Latinos who agree with Donald Trump about a variety of things, and they will not be dissuaded. That will put him, though, at a historically low mark with Republicans, lower than Mitt Romney, lower than even Bob Dole, who holds the record at this point, and that's back in 1996. So Donald Trump will lose the race to Hillary Clinton. He'll lose the Latino vote. But let's not kid ourselves. He's not going to get 0% of the Latino vote. There are some Latinos who will support him and will vote for him.
Let me ask you about that, too. And, Pete, I'm going to get you to comment on this briefly, but I want to ask Ruben first, because this speaks to the Latino vote that likely will vote for Donald Trump. There are people who have gone to the border between Texas and Mexico. A number of publications, Esquire, I believe, was the latest, and talked to the people there. What's coming out of a lot of those interviews is that the Latinos who live in this country, who are here legally right now, those are the ones who have the greatest urge to make sure that illegals are kept out. They're the ones that want the wall more than anybody else, because they believe they did it right. And the people now need to do it right or stay out. Ruben, is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely a fair assessment. Not just they did it right, but they're fearful for their own safety. They're closest to the border. I live not too far, about an hour from the U.S.-Mexico border. But if you live up in New York City or in Seattle or someplace far away, you have the luxury of being able to say that border security is not a top priority. So yes, it's true. As you get closer to the U.S.-Mexico border, you have Mexican Americans living there who are more supportive of a lot of what Trump says.
We're going to need your comments on this, too. Don't forget, join us at 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-Newsmax. Pete, I come to you then. You've been in the trenches. You know what happens inside the Beltway. You know how these things work in elections. How, then, does Donald Trump walk this back, or is it simply impossible? This is an albatross he's going to have to live with.
Well, I think it's going to be an albatross that the Democrats are going to hang around his neck unless he does something fairly dramatic and perhaps out of character. Maybe what he will do, and the most dramatic step that he could take, is say, you know what, I'm sorry, I went too far. I may have disagreements with this particular judge, but I should not have said what I said. An apology would be the quickest way to at least have some damage control in place, and it's probably exactly the thing that he should do. But what we know about Donald Trump is that he does not do anything that, conventional politics dictate that he would do.
But don't we also know that, Pete, about his followers? Because the people who believe in Donald Trump don't think he should apologize. Pete, let's be honest. He's not going to apologize because even his followers don't believe that that is a sign of strength. Am I correct?
That may be true for some of his followers, but what Donald Trump needs to be focused on now is how he grows that group of followers and people who are willing to vote for him to make sure that he's got at least 50.1% of the vote on Election Day. He's not going to win the election with his current group of followers. It's just not large enough. It's not significant enough for him to win an election.
I want you both to hear this now. 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-NEWSMAX. Donald from Atlanta, Georgia, who believes that Donald Trump has crossed the line. Donald, tell us.
Well, I believe that I can't believe he doesn't have advisors guiding him around these topics, and we need a serious change in Washington. But I'm just less and less supportive of the man.
Okay, then let me get to that because you make a good point. Hang on, Donald, you made a good point here. Ruben, that's something else that people are going to talk about here. This is a man, we talk about advisors. And we talk about people to school him, but Donald Trump has said many times before, I don't need advisors. I have a good brain.
Right. He doesn't listen. The funny thing is he learns. We know he learns because he became a better candidate as time went on in the last 12 months or so. We know that. He can learn, but he doesn't listen. And he doesn't listen even to folks who are close to him, who support him, who want him to be successful. He doesn't listen. And in this case, it will be his downfall because this won't just be one albatross. This is just the latest eruption. Give him a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. He'll keep saying things like this. He'll offend other groups. You see the remark he made about the African-American gentleman. Where's my African-American? There's my African-American. I mean, this is a boneheaded candidate who it doesn't go through his head that he says and thinks dumb things, and he has no filter, and he won't listen to his advisors. So I think he's in a lot of trouble.
Let me get one more in here quickly. Rich from White Plains, who says Newt Gingrich is right about Trump. What he said was a huge mistake. I got about 20 seconds, Rich. Go ahead.
We see that what Newt Gingrich said, there's no one is safe from the wrath of Donald Trump. If you dare to criticize him on anything, what could this portend for Paul Ryan and the possibility to work with Trump? He's already told the media, after lashing out at them, that he's not going to change.
So let me do this, Pete. I only got about 20 seconds, but what about Paul Ryan and all those others who just threw their support behind Donald Trump? They're going to hang with him. Many people believe that.
Oh, yeah, they're going to hang with him unless Donald Trump really goes off the edge. We really need to hope and expect that Donald Trump puts a good group of advisors around him and that he actually does start to listen.
And that is going to be something which I think will shock a lot of people if indeed it happens, at least if we go by past history. Ruben Navarrette, I know you got to run. Thanks a lot for joining us, my friend. Pete Hoekstra is going to stay with us. More of your phone calls coming up. 1-877-NEWSMAX. 1-877-639-7629. We'll talk more about Trump University, and your calls next on The Hardline.